So we're still talking about the high cost of living. And, as we were heading towards the end of 2022, there were reports that, the subsidy on electricity, that was removed. So expect power bills to go up in the next couple of days. Well, power bills have been going up for the past couple of months anyway. But the president, speaking at church service on Sunday, he was at Siloam in Bamburi, Mombasa County. He said, forget about it. President William Ruto says the cost of electricity will not go up, contrary to earlier media reports. Several media outlets had reported that the cost of power would rise as of the 1st of January after the government eliminated the low-cost power electricity subsidy. Speaking during a Sunday service in Mombasa, the president explained that the government had already removed the subsidies in August last year. Hence, the electricity cost would not go up. He said, we have already taken care of all the subsidies that we removed in August. We are going to ensure our manufacturers, our value addition processors, and all Kenyans, including those on lifeline tariffs, are taken into consideration as we review the tariffs going into the future. The president, however, said that the government will not shy away from making tough decisions that will enable sustainable economic growth. I have taken a bold measure to ensure the country recovers economically by removing subsidies, which were initially a strategy deployed for political expediency for that time because we had an election. Now he says subsidy is gone, but we will make sure that as we're reviewing the tariffs and all, power prices are not going up. Hiyo ni rumors, wachana rumors ya watu wa magazeti. Ni rumors. Engineer Isaac Ndereva, our friend who understands matters of electricity and power billing, is here with us. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, Eric.
Good to see you again.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Umeruka vizuri.
Nimeruka, lakini pia nimeruka excessively because first of all, Happy New Year, City.
Happy New Year, my brother.
What I did when I was coming, the year has started in a funny way. When I was on the expressway, I think some people just thought we were passing through the expressway in January. So I missed the turnoff, so I did not exit here. So I had to go another 10 kilometers to be here.
Inakwanga hivyo.
You should put up some billboard saying this where Standard Group. Otherwise, I missed that.
There's the billboard that is this big
Pole
building.
sana. So you missed the exit at
so
the
I missed
Southern
the exit,
bypass.
nikaona hiyo ndio Standard Group, ikasema hiyo imeenda. I went and paid uko. But I told them, sijasaidika, but it's okay. But not by much.
Karibu, pole sana. Pole sana ndugu yangu.
Yes.
Now, Ndereva,
yes,
things have been happening, bwana. The last time you were here, it was, to talk about the rising cost of power. That was just soon after, some power bills had been reduced by 15%. That was in end of January, right?
Yes.
And then later we talked about it because we were still expecting that by June, or was it by March?
By March.
Yeah, by March,
yes,
the other 15%, would be implemented. Came and passed. Now, the president is saying power is not going to go up. You forget about it. Power is not going to go up. Is power going up? Is the cost of power going up?
Sometimes I just feel for Kenyans because the promises we are given, it's not tied to anything. Now, I had, when I was coming, I was listening to you, and you're trying to explain how the president will be going on Thursday to Nanyuki, try to go and get the advisors that kuja hapa, this is what we have done in the 100 days, what we need to do. But I didn't hear you mention, because probably it is not written on the papers, who is going to advise in matters power. Because I was not called, and my phone has been on. I was expecting that they would come and ask, what is this you normally say? Now, power, let me repeat what has been happening. In 2018, Kenya Power requested for tariff review. It's normally done after every 3 years. So they requested for some review. And now, that time, it was increased from a certain amount, it required 10 shillings, it went to around 12 shillings for a certain tariff. Just imagine that is a percentage. All tariffs are affected. But now, in 2018, they reduced all costs that are above the energy charge. They reduced all of them. In fact, to be specific, in 2018, August, all fuel cost, forex, and inflation total was 2.6 shillings.
Total.
It came down from 7.06. They brought it down to 2.06 shillings.
That is after the review.
After the review, you know now what they did? Eh? They increased the money that goes to Kenya Power, but then they reduced all these other costs.
The money that goes
That
to
is
government.
forex, the one that they take directly.
Government.
And I will say it is government that takes because it's not IPPs. I will explain why. Now, they reduced that cost from 7 shillings to 2 shillings. Then they increased the Kenya Power's cost by a certain margin. During that time, they said power cost. That time, the Director General was Pavel Oimeke. He said price imeenda chini ya power. Okay, people thought, okay, imeenda chini. Do you know how much it reduced? By a very small percent, maybe 0.01%. Now, what happened? Ikaka. So these other costs that were reduced to 2.06 shillings, to 2.60, they build up to around, when is it? Ikafika around a time we were complaining now. You know, there's a time we were complaining in around 2021 when I came.
Yes.
Now, it was now on top of what was increased in Kenya Power's cost. Read that there is the Kenya Power's cost, and then there are other collections that the government takes from the bill.
Yes.
So now, see now the other cost, the forex, whatever they reduced to 2.6 something, started increasing. Now, it increased until we started complaining again. Remember that time, Kenya Power were trying to say, actually, we will still need another review. We still need to increase our cost by 20%. But you see, there is a certain cost that nobody says increase or reduce. It is the government that decides this 2.60 will increase. Now, what happened? When we came to around January, after now the PPA task force report, I came and told you, and by the way, our sources is, we don't operate on rumors because we are a registered body. We don't operate on rumors. So we have data that we keep. And that data, and we asked, how was Kenya Power that was asking for a reduction of, for an increase of 20%? How are they able to reduce? And then we found out they were given 26 billion.
From the government.
From the government for 8 months. And that is what I said here. I remember when I was
given a subsidy.
A subsidy, yes, for 26 billion. That was being collected from snippet here, from, I think, either from other sources like Tuseme Nikama Relek, and several other sources. So they build up, they say that we are going to provide 26 billion. Now that government is gone. Now, the one that came decided there is no subsidy, according to what they are saying. Because, of course, they are saying we need to increase power by 15% because that subsidy is gone.
It's gone.
But remember, even before they say that, they increased this cost before August. The total cost for forex, inflation, and forex, inflation, and fuel cost was 5.83. Now, serikali vile iliingia just immediately after they came back. They did not increase the money that goes to Kenya Power. What they increased is the fuel cost. Now, that fuel cost came from 4.63, sahi equals 7.2. Now, the total cost that goes with forex and fuel cost and inflation is now 9.86. You get? So, hakuna pesa ya Kenya Power.
It was 2 shillings and 60.
Yes, it's now 9.86.
And just about 4 years ago.
Yes.
It's now 9 bob.
Yeah. So now, if you hear Kenya Power complaining that we need to be increased our, and in fact the tariff review period is due, and that is why they are requesting for her. They normally apply to EPRA.
This review takes place after how long?
After 3 years.
After 3 years.
Yes.
Okay.
So now,
So it didn't happen in 2021.
it didn't happen. There was a lot of
it was COVID time.
yeah, COVID time, all those things. So now they want their costs adjusted a little bit.
Kenya Power.
Kenya Power. Now, the challenge is, with this cost of 9.86, which is not tied to anything because, remember,
This is all tax.
it's not tax. In fact, tax, I have not
it's
mentioned
not a
about
tax,
VAT. Yeah.
Because there's VAT, there's the other levies, Kenya Water Resource
If you add
Authority
those ones,
levies
it's going
and
to
all
be more
those
than-
goes. So we are only talking about the fuel charge,
Yes.
the forex,
Yes.
and inflation.
And inflation.
what
Those three-
determines inflation?
Inflation, I think, is normally given by the...
So it's a CBK.
It is a CBK issue.
All right.
Uh-huh.
What determines forex?
Forex now, that is an interesting one. when we were trying to sign off some PPAs about 20 years or 15 years ago, the dollar was maybe 62 shillings or 80 shillings. Now the dollar is at 120 something. That difference is what we pay. Because those IPPs decided that we are not going to depend on your Kenya shillings because we have bought our machines and our investment and loans have been taken in dollars. Right. So when always pay us in dollars. And remember, they collect money from consumers in Kenya shillings. So we have to add that.
So we have to buy the dollars.
So there are some that we are paying an extra up to around 38 shillings per dollar.
So
we are adding.
So at that rate, will this debt ever be paid really?
For what?
I mean, if
the money to the IPPs.
Exactly, because if, say, we borrowed, and at that time the shilling was exchanging against the dollar at 80 shillings, and now we're at 122.
It is the investors. They have signed a contract for 20 years. So once their contract is over, like now for Savo Power, for example, which was Kipevu 2, their years is over. They closed in June of 2021.
They closed the plant.
Because the contract was over. So if they didn't pay themselves...
They have no new contract on them.
They were not renewed.
And there's only one person who can buy power in this country.
Yes.
And that is Kenya Power.
And that is Kenya Power.
If you don't have a contract with Kenya Power...
Then you can only supply to your village. Now, that being Forex, I've told you how Forex come about. That we have to add the difference in which the dollar is today. And that,
so basically, we are paying the IPPs in dollars.
In dollars.
That's the point.
Yes, and remember, it's not all IPPs. Okay, let me say there is first of all, we have 5 IPPs that are doing thermal. Then we have 3 that are owned by KenGen.
Yes.
Those ones owned by KenGen, of course, we are paying using Kenya.
Those ones are Kenya shilling denominated.
And they only have, I think they have, it's confirmed that they have Kipevu 1 and Kipevu 3 and Muhoroni gas turbine. Those are the only thermals. Then, of course, there are some other small mini grids operated by Kenya Power, which only account for 0.7% of the generation, which is very small. But now those 5 guys are the people who come and say, we need you to add Forex and then fuel cost. And that is the cost, even if you remove just about a small amount, which is maybe inflation, you will still have about over 7 shillings, which is fuel cost.
Isaac, is there justification for this? We understand that the review period is every 3 years.
Yes.
But is there justification for it? Because sometimes it's possible that somebody can say, well, we're up for review. And there may not be any need for those prices to go up. Because we are seeing that because they are the sole provider, essentially. There's a monopoly. Whether it's designed that way or, as a result of circumstance, they are the sole. Is the review then justifiable at every time? Because usually when somebody says, well, if you look at any other sector, when there is a need for price review, it's because they've not been able to, number one, make ends meet, or number two, their inputs have become more expensive over time, and so now the end user then must be the one to shoulder the cost, isn't it? So when they come and they say, it's time for us to review, is it because 1 or 2 of those things have happened, or we just need to make some more money for the sake of it?
Well, the review is actually something that is actually justifiable. Number one, it's not all reviews that are to increase the cost of power. And then they are also given a period where we will look at all the operations. Remember, through the Sustainable Development Goals, it was a call for all nations to ensure universal access to electricity. I mean, like, we are now almost 76 point something percent connectivity. We are up from 25 in around 2013. Now, due to the losses and all those other increments and all that, they said, let us be sitting down and be looking at, like what you would be saying, what the president is going to do in Nanyuki. You need to sit down and ask, this is what we have done, this is the connectivity, and can we reduce, or do we increase, or do we still maintain there? And remember, it is not them just that they decide. They also apply to EPRA. Now, EPRA is a regulator. And I know EPRA has been tight. They don't always... They have done several applications and EPRA has turned down. But they are, of course, justified every time to say that we have turned down because of this and that. So, but now, you remember even when they were saying we need an increment of 20%, they had applied to EPRA, and then EPRA said no. Because of the economies of these other things, it's going to be a bit either, it's going to be political or something. Let's just chill now. Now, the danger here is we have a new government, and the government may come with and make a decision that we want Kenya Power to be profitable.
Yep.
Now, I don't have a problem in Kenya Power being profitable. In any case, even if they charge 15 shillings up from 10 or 7, provided they don't have these 9 shillings, they look at it. And let me remind you something. I know City want to ask, what does it take to remove these IPPs in Thamos? I will tell you something that was said by, he was the MD Kenya Power, Ken Tarus, about 4 years ago. He was asked in I think it was in KTN or somewhere. He was asked, how much money do we need to pay off these guys? He said 50 billion, over 50 billion. Now, let me imagine even it is 100 billion. These people, if you look at the money we pay them per year, the IPPs, you will realize that it is actually intentional not to remove them. Because, for example, you are paying them over, let's say, over 30% of like 20 billion that Kenya Power takes, for example.
Every year.
How much is that? Isn't that 6 billion? Now, if you multiply 6 billion, multiply by 12, how much is that?
72.
It's 72. Then you just need 1 year to tell them, ondokeni hapa. You see? Now, the other challenge is, even when they are being paid, we don't know how much they have been paid. We know how much they generate. Because every month we normally have a summary. And for example, like last month and the previous month, you expect the cost of the fuel cost to go up based on the generation. It doesn't go like that. I was here the last time I was telling you. It has been 4.63 for 8 months. Yet the generation has been going up and down, up and down. So it's not governed by anything. You don't use any. So right now, you realize that the generation for Thamos was actually less in November compared to the previous month. Yet the cost went higher.
What happened?
Why
did they generate less?
That is what I am saying. That money does not go to the IPPs themselves. I mean, you can't give an IPP something they have not generated. So, but Kenya Power has no business. I've actually tried to talk to Kenya Power and ask them, do you really follow this money that has been collected to ensure that it has gone to this? Because we even have the generation.
But it's collected by Kenya Power.
Sorry? It's collected by Kenya Power.
Right.
Yes. But it's a pass-through cost.
To who?
I think they even give to the ministry or...
So through the Ministry of Energy.
Yes.
To then pay the
various players. This is Garissa, this is whoever, these are Mumias, and those are the guys.
Why is the ministry paying and that the contract is with the Kenya Power?
Well, I don't think they have the mandate to. It's not a direct. I didn't even say the ministry. I don't know who pays, but it is not Kenya Power. I'm only expecting it's the ministry because I don't expect it's EPRA. But it is not Kenya Power.
So do I hear you to be saying then that the role of Kenya Power is very specific?
Yes.
And it has nothing to do with paying the IPPs?
No. It doesn't.
So then what is the role of Kenya Power?
By the way, let me remind you something else. The fuel that we consume is normally given to those IPPs by the government. That is number one. Then cost? We pay the government through the fuel cost. Number two, these units generated by Thamo is specific to each station. And it is actually, there is normally even a summary that you will get in Kenya Power. But as to how much money they have been paid, you remember when the task force was asked, go and get this contract. They did not get a single contract between Kenya Power and IPPs. And that is even John Gume who said that I really tried to get these files. I asked them where are the contracts. So how do you expect Kenya Power to pay? Yet those contracts are hidden.
So and yet the contracts are hidden.
Yes.
But money is still, we are told, is paid.
We are paying at least.
So it's not that the contracts are not there, are non-existent.
No, they exist.
Yes. Depending on who is asking, who are you? My name is John Gumi, sent by who? By the president. You want what? Contract. Kuja kesho.
Yes. That is what happened. They did not get that.
They will just never show it to you.
They were never shown those contracts.
And they will never show it to you.
Yes. And remember all those contracts.
But they're not
remember
the only
there was
contracts that have become opaque or invisible. The SGR contract also had similar issues. It's there, but it's also not there.
Contracts were also.
I know you want to go to a break. Just really quickly, is it possible that these are designed in a manner that will make Kenya continue to pay ad infinitum these amounts? That perhaps it's designed in a manner so that you will always be paying this amount. Is that possible, Isaac?
You see, for me, the question...
It is possible because every time... actually, I'm very disappointed with this government, to be honest.
This one or the previous one?
This government that is in existing.
But
because
been in
we had...
for 2 days.
100 days is a long time.
No, 100 days. You remember, between August and now, they have taken the cost of these three components from 5 to 9.89. 9.89. Now, I'm asking...
And this change happened since, let's say,
August.
President William Ruto was sworn in as president?
Since when he was sworn in, the cost of those three components have gone up by close to 5
And the
shillings.
end result
But
is
it's not-
not as
is
a
it
result
them?
of things that happened before he came in.
No. Some people will
Come on,
say...
Isaac.
Say fuel charge now. How is the government to blame for fuel charge? going up?
No, let me ask you.
Or the cost of fuel for that
you
matter.
can you can check honestly. You can check the increase in fuel cost in terms of petrol from when the president was in. I think when say July when we had Uhuru Kenyatta.
Okay.
Up to now. What is the percentage change? Then you check what is the percentage change in this
fuel
component.
energy.
Is over 60%.
Fuel energy charge has gone up.
Yes.
And forex charge has gone up because of William Ruto.
Of course, it is when you are going to pay the IPPs. Fuel cost is directly related
To the forex charge.
forex.
But now that is not the administration. That is the market. That is what they have.
Yes.
It's not the market. It's not the market. I am saying whoever decides that the fuel cost is going to come, and it happened in 1 month, remember.
Fuel cost just shot up.
In the last 2 months, that is when it has doubled. That has not... Don't always say that, it is Didi Nyoro in Kenya. Remember, Didi Nyoro's shares are 0.42. That is equivalent to 18 million Kenya shillings. I don't think that is a lot of money to keep on saying it is own. It has nothing to do with the profitability. This is money, and it has nothing to do with the IPPs. This is money that is normally taken. The IPPs are told yenyus in hii. Are you complaining? No. The rest, and that is why those contracts are not existing. And that is why we are also saying, give us a page, by the way, as your CSR as Standard Group. Give us a page every month, 1 page only, 1 day. We will be listing the various parameters that affect the cost of electricity.
Is the cost of electricity going up?
It has gone up already.
It has gone up by 5 bob. At
So
least on
if
those
it is
three
going to go,
items.
it is right now. Kenya is number 3 in Africa. Number 3. There is Cape Verde, and then there is Rwanda. Mali was a bit ahead, but now we have overtaken. We are at 26.2.
In terms of the highest cost.
The
of
highest cost.
Yeah, what do we need to do to be number 1?
Yes.
Just keep going the way you're going.
Because I thought with that government, we would have expected that we are going to have something like around 15 shillings, because they were very serious about industrialization. But right now, it is becoming a challenge.
So when the president says we are going to make sure that during the tariff review, we are going to factor in all of those different users, it will not change much if these costs are still high. Basically, that's what you're saying. Even if you reduce the tariff to Kenya Power, if fuel energy charge, forex charge, inflation, and then you bring in EPRA, WRA, REP charge, if all those ones are still high, it doesn't matter.
It does not matter. In fact, nobody has ever come to say, now power has been increased from this. People just realize that why is it going up? It's because of those three. In fact, I don't mind about WARMA, EPRA, and REP. Because those ones, they are not, you can be able to tell how they are going to be, because they are constant. These are those of someone waking up and saying fuel cost, inflation, forex. That one, we cannot even keep track of it.
Let's take a break. It is 25 minutes to 9. Engineer Isaac Ndereva is the Executive Director, Electricity Consumers Society of Kenya. And he understands matters of electricity, and especially billing and the components of billing. And that's what we're discussing today. Concerns of a high cost of electricity. Is there any relief on the way, as the president has promised? That's what we're discussing.
This is The Situation Room the only way to start your day.
Our guest is Engineer Isaac Ndereva. He's the Executive Director at the Electricity Consumer Society of Kenya. We are talking about the rising cost of power. Ndereva,
Yes.
what is REP charge? Rural Electrification Program.
Rural Electrification Program is some fund that was established to be collected with the bill to assist those people who, for example, if you have some old folks back in the countryside, and, maybe they're having a challenge in getting power because they're being told it's going to be 35 shillings and all that. In the drive to ensure that we are also having easy application and connectivity, the government was supposed to be taking that amount and then subsidize the application for new connection.
Okay.
At the same time, it was also supposed to assist in the maintenance of those lines.
Okay.
Now, I know some bit of that kitty was added by World Bank, but again, that is another area that is not accounted for. Right now, you may not say, we had that Kenya Power, there was procurement, they had halted some procurement processes, so there was nothing going on. Several people have also called me and asked me, we don't have this token meters, what is the challenge? Of course, I tell them that is not my line, but I have found out that there was a challenge in the procurement because of the investigation that Gordon was doing, Kiharangwa. And so, if they were still collecting this money, and there was no more connectivity going on, then where was that money going? You know, by the way, the Garissa Solar is now being owned by RELEC, the rural electrification, people who collect that money. So you are asking, could they be investing this money into their own things, and then we should get a bit of that profit from Garissa?
So the whole idea of rural electrification charge is like the petroleum development levy.
Yes.
Okay. So it goes in there.
But the accounting is a challenge.
Is where the issue is.
Yes.
There's a Warma charge.
Yes.
What is that?
Warma is, we are supposed to collect some money because of the communities that are around where we get water from the Seven Forks, where we have hydros.
Okay.
Of course, you even had at one point the former Muranga governor saying you cannot get water from Muranga and not give them something.
Yeah.
So it's the same idea. And again, it's something that is very little.
It's a small amount.
It's a very small token. It's supposed to either sometimes maintain their roads there or sometimes even build the CSR of that area.
Okay.
Yes. But again, I don't know how it's normally accounted for, but I may not have a challenge because maybe it is not a lot of money. But based on that region, maybe it is a lot of money.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe the region is small.
So somebody bought power units tokens.
Yes.
On the 31st of December at about 3:30 p.m.
Yes.
They spent 5,000 shillings. Ndu, please get your calculator out.
Yes, please.
Use your Z Flip 4 to calculate it better and clearer. Okay?
Yes.
Tell me when you're ready.
I am ready in 3, 2, 1 now.
Okay. So this person sends 5,000 shillings to buy tokens.
5,000.
Okay? Now let's start subtracting. Subtract EPRA charge, which is 7 shillings and 36 cents.
Minus 7.36.
And then they got Warma charge, which is 2 shillings and 82 cents.
Minus 2.80 shillings.
The REP charge, which is 94 shillings and 55 cents.
Minus 94.55.
Yes, I'm going from the small amounts to high amounts. Those are the levies that Ndereva was talking about. So now let's go to the others.
Okay.
The big ticket items. Inflation adjustment, 164 shillings and 54 cents.
Minus 164.54, please.
Okay. Forex charge, 508 shillings and 8 cents.
Minus 508.08.
No, 0.80.
508.80. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Fuel energy charge. It is 1,748.56. This is to buy tokens of 5,000, by the way. Yeah?
1,748.56.
Yes.
Wonderful.
You're backing up.
2,473.39 shillings. Please.
Yes. Tuendelee kutoatoa kidogo.
Okay.
Hiyo pesa bado ni mingi. Let's remove VAT, 582 shillings and 32 cents.
582.32, please.
How much is left?
1,891 shillings and 0.07.
That is the amount of power that this person buys. From 5,000 shillings, the token amount is 1,891.
Let's check. You said it is 5,000 shillings.
Yes.
How many units were they given?
They got 245.59 units.
245.59.
0.59.
Those people, I don't know why they are complaining. They were paying at 20 shillings per kilowatt hour. Remember, that is not the group of 26 shillings.
It's okay.
Yes.
But, boss, I have spent 5,000 bob. I'm getting power worth 1,800.
Yeah,
that is where the issue is.
Actually, someone...
What's that percentage? 1891 over 5,000 times 100.
1891.
1891
divided by 5,000.
over 5,000 times 100. What's the percentage?
Yeah, that is 37%.
Imagine.
37%.
Is what you're getting. That is
37.8
of the amount.
Let's do this. I think there is a better way we can do it.
You're only getting 37%.
Yeah.
That is what you
That's the value you're
the
getting
rest
for what
is
you
going
paid.
to government and the others.
Yes. Now, let's look at what is the fuel. Can you give me the value for fuel cost and forex only? We look
Fuel
at what
energy charge 1748.56.
17.56. Then the other one, let me add 17.
48.56.
0.56. The other one,
Forex is 508.8.
8.8. See, now that is 2257.
Only those two items.
Yes. So if you divide that by 5,000, you get is 45%.
45%
That goes
in
to
those
IPPs.
those
You
two.
know how much they provide in the generation?
Yeah.
They are providing 12%.
and they're getting 45%
Yes.
of the cost.
Yes.
How on God's green earth is that even explainable?
Yeah, but if you
That your
add the
input,
two,
you're
I mean,
giving-
this is arithmetic time. Eh?
Yeah.
45 plus 37% gives you 82%. So the other 18%, where does it go?
It's at levies
Is the levies,
It's those levies
Warma,
that we didn't add.
yes.
Warma,
REP,
REP,
yes.
those
and
things.
VAT.
So I think you've come to the point that I wanted you to come to.
Please, if
That
I can just,
12%.
as you're going to that,
Yes.
because let's just open it just a little bit, because sometimes I think we get wrapped up. Because what we're saying essentially is that you, as the person who is earning the bulk of this amount of 45%,
Yes.
compared to everybody else,
Yes.
your input is 12%.
Yes.
So what explainable reason do we have for this 27%? It's almost as though it's free money.
So we're paying 45%.
Yes.
But they're inputting 12%, they're getting 45% out.
No,
so this
no, no.
So how much electricity do they
where
give
is
us
it
as a
from?
percentage?
It's
12%.
Where is the
this
27%
This is
from?
not the money that is going to the IPPs. It is the money that is going as a result of having IPPs.
Oh, yes, yes.
Because we are talking about forex charge. I mean, the dollar is behaving the way it's behaving. It's going to cost us 508 to buy the dollar to pay this guy.
Yes.
The fuel energy charge, it's going to cost us X amount of money to buy the oil, blah, 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 to go here. Okay? The issues here come on, number one, because it's a dollar-denominated contract.
Yes. And euros. Eh?
And euro,
And euros,
yeah.
yes.
So it's a dollar and euro-denominated contract.
Yes.
And number two, because they are using thermal, which is determined by the global fuel price.
Yes.
The problem, though, that you're saying
Yes.
is that there is no clarity or transparency on how we arrive at this.
Yes.
Two.
Yes. Then, interestingly, let me first start by saying that the various generation mixes, geothermal is the highest. I think geothermal is at par with hydro at 28% of the installed capacity. And they are doing quite well because they give us quite... In fact, geothermal is giving us more than 40% of the generation. Now, the installed capacity of thermos is around 600 megawatt. 600 megawatt.
Yeah.
And remember, the utilization of that 600 megawatt is 23%. We only utilize 23%.
And the rest?
The rest is either they are on idle, we are waiting for
The
them
thing
to
is,
give...
I have a capacity
Yes.
to give you 600.
Yes.
But you're only taking 20% of that. And then why do we need the 20%? Explain. Why do we need to have these small plants?
Okay, for now there is no reason. Kitambo, there was a reason because there were, remember the power outages when we were having the rationing.
Yep.
That time during Kibaki's era, we had that reason. And that is why most of them came up around that time.
And you're saying that also,
Yes.
by that time, the capacity of the thermals were not what it is now.
Yes.
We didn't have thermal.
So we didn't have it.
Most of them came in around that time.
Yes.
Now they are around 600. I think they are around 640 megawatt. Now, remember, I want to explain that we went and we signed a contract that is supposed to run for 25 years with Ethiopia to provide 400 megawatt.
For what purpose exactly?
They called it power pooling or something. What?
We have a whole regional.
It's an agreement.
Power agreement.
Yeah, but here, City, before you ask, so that you can ask a good question. One, we have geothermal. We have drilled 863 megawatt geothermal. 863. Our geothermal potential is over 7,000. So we've not even done, I think, it's slightly under 10%. Now, what happened? Our Kenyan team for geothermal drilling were told by Ethiopia, come and drill for us geothermal.
Yep.
They didn't drill for Kenya.
Yep.
And then, after drilling, they are now selling to us 200 megawatt for a start. Then after 3 years, they are going to review. And you see, the challenge is, it was signed in terms of dollar. The one we are complaining about, to run for 25. Now, ask the question.
You know me, I'm actually confused.
Yes.
Because just before we started talking about Ethiopia, we're talking about this production of 600 megawatts that we only use a small percentage of.
Yes.
There's some 20% lying idle.
Yes.
No, 20% is what we actually
23% is what
we have about 75% or so lying idle.
Okay. So if it's lying idle, it means it's not used.
It means it's not generated.
Let me explain. So that you don't think that there are some that are just idling. Remember, there is a time Kenya will demand so much megawatt in a day.
Yep.
In a certain time. So those guys will now be told, can you start? So they should be on standby. But most of the time, they are normally idle. You get? So now, why I brought in the issue of Ethiopia is to say that with the 400 or 200 megawatt, though it was also purchased at a high cost of, I think, over 7 shillings.
We can switch off.
We could switch off several of them and then tell them, here you need like 50 billion or 100 billion.
To recoup your investment.
Wait, Tembea. Sisi tuko sawa, because they are going to penalize you because of breaching the contract.
Yeah.
If we were told by Ken Tarus that is going to be around 50 billion, I think he was also not, I may not have been an MD of Kenya Power, but that I will tell him, I think he was not realistic. Yeah. It could be something more than 100 billion or so.
It has to be.
But if that is the case and we are giving these guys about 72 billion per year, what is the big challenge? Even if we are told as Kenyans, we will not provide you with any thermal, but we will be collecting power from fuel cost. But in 1 year, we'll have collected 72 billion and we'll tell these guys to go. Then we will also take another 72 billion. We will continue paying for 2 years. And then we do geothermal drilling such that we can now get an extra 1,000 capacity. And then we also decide that we are not getting from Ethiopia, or rather, if this one we are getting from Ethiopia must be utilized, then we can simply say that is what has substituted the thermals.
Yeah, but what's the logic here? Because I understand, because you've taken my mind to just oil production.
Yes.
You would find the so-called developed countries, let's talk about the US, they have oil reserves.
Yes.
But they were busy getting oil from other countries who also, or taking their big companies to drill oil. The argument, from what I understand, was so that they can conserve what they have.
Yes.
Okay? Are we conserving our thermal?
Thermal or geothermal?
Geothermal.
No.
Are we not geothermal? Are we conserving it?
We have no idea of course, geothermal operates in a way that it could be affected. If you harness it from other areas, it might deplete what you have. That is what I would think, because it's something underground.
We don't really know.
But we do not have, actually, is a renewable energy, geothermal. So it is water going down. You remember, we also try to feed it back. So it is, we get it back, we get it as steam, we cool, then we put it back. So it is renewable, sort of. So Haishi, I don't think we are conserving.
So if Haishi, then why are we buying whatever we're buying from Ethiopia?
From Ethiopia?
Yes. Why? I mean, I don't remember the logic. There must be some logic behind it.
City does not know that the whole of that issue involved public participation And by so doing, he is assumed
He
to
was
have accepted.
co-opted.
When was this public participation held?
You see, you don't know.
Everything in Kenya has through public participation.
Yeah,
But
I
also,
understand,
it's
yes.
part of a regional power agreement,
Yes.
such that
Meaning what exactly?
this region then stabilizes in terms of power.
Yeah.
Okay. So at some point, you may find that, because of one issue or the other, our line from Loyangalani
Yes.
goes down for 3 weeks in December 2021, and that affects our power supply, and that's when we ramped up our power from thermal.
Yes.
So you have Ethiopia, which is giving you power, which you have, basically you just have stabilization.
Yes.
So are
Of
we
the
also going to
grid.
be giving Ethiopia power? Because if a regional stability...
To generate enough.
If we
to
generate
have
enough.
CCP.
yeah, but we already have the capacity to generate enough. Why are we not generating
We
it?
give
It's
it to them
because
through the
someone
southern
will
India.
want the thermos to be here as long as possible. Because you remember, see, I have told you they only generate 12%. And this is data that is normally provided for. 12%, and you have seen they take 45%, isn't it? Now, if, again, there is some hidden contract that you will never know how much they were paid, when you become a president, I would expect that you would want to come and realize that this is where the problem was. But then again, maybe your people will say, Mkubwa, unajua hapa tukiharibu,
Tukiguza hii,
we will
tunajiguza.
also not have money, hatutaweza kusurvive. Because that is one avenue where they get a lot of
Tunajiguza.
money. Yes.
The government is basically, Kenya Power is called a tax collecting
Yes, it
agency.
is.
If you just look at all that, if you spend 5,000 shillings and
Yes.
you get less than 1,900 worth of power,
It's ludicrous.
then you just ask yourself, what is it? There's that thing that's being shared on social media
Yes.
on if Kenya Power were to sell you tea.
Yes.
This is the breakdown of how that tea would cost. Tea, 15 shillings.
Yes.
Serving tea, 10 bob.
Serving now.
Milk in tea, 20 bob.
The same thing.
Water in tea, 15 bob. Tea leaves, 18 shillings and 50 cents. Cooking gas, 9. Salary for the cook, 5 bob. Rent, 5 shillings and 50 cents. County license, 13 bob. Adjustable taste, 14 bob. Sufuria levy, 7 bob.
You see now, actually,
So the total cost of that tea is 132 bob.
what I would tell this government is we are not, first of all, I still want to insist, because we want to partner with the media house, where we'll be providing that information. We'll provide the information, then they provide the page. I'm not sure whether Standard will take it before Nation does that or whoever. But of course, we have a
Isaac,
scope.
are you baiting?
No. We are-
110%
No,
baiting.
we are simply saying that you've been very supportive in this information. So you should actually get the priority in doing that. But now, what I would tell the government is, number one, it is a national agreement through sustainable development goals. It is also in the constitution that we must get this information to the people. That is number one. So any of this information of how much was generated, how was it shared among the other IPPs, and why was it that amount, that must be explained to people.
You know, if we haven't been told how it is that all these levies that are in fuel, one isn't even clear how much is actually collected.
No, you are told. I was with the director for consumer protection.
All right, very good.
In EPRA, and he told us that these things are normally explained in the Kenya Gazette every month. So I asked him, you go to the countryside and ask someone what is the Gazette. Na atakuletea gazeti ya nyama. And then, unfortunately or fortunately, it is costing 60 shillings just as the normal newspaper. So
Isaac.
they don't differentiate.
Isaac.
Yes.
Isaac. You know, this thing of it being in the Kenyan Gazette,
Yes.
okay? Even if you told us that every month you publish it in all the major papers,
Yes.
okay?
Still.
Yeah, thank you very much, Eric. Still.
But there is processing. We will do a lot of processing of information.
Yes, but then, you see, my question is not whether it is published or whether there's a website. Is how do we know that that is what is really happening? That really is my question.
Okay, it is going to create the public uproar because once you understand what happens, you will be able to push your government. Because I believe right now why they don't care much about what is the fuel cost is because
we
nobody
don't
is
know.
asking, isn't it?
Yes.
Right now, if we are so many of us asking, then if it is on the paper, even some of them read papers and they are surprised with some of the parameters that they have actually cost, and then they are worried. So once we start putting them on papers, and then they realize that actually the generation for thermos was this amount, but then the cost is this amount, they will see, hapa hata wangwana wale walituchagua wataona hapa.
Wataona iko kitu.
Yes.
Ndereva, thank you very much for joining us.
Asante sana.
We wish you a happy new year
You
and
too.
keep coming.
Thank you very much.
Sir Isaac Ndereva is the Executive Director of the Electricity Consumer Society of Kenya.